What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Prod.cast. I'm Andric.
I'm Basil.
And I'm SK.
Today is the episode. We are finally doing the episode where we have been talking about it for the last 2 weeks ever since it started. But before we head into it, we want to officially welcome. We finally have a guest on our 11th episode, Shanna.
Hey.
Can you give us a short intro of yourself? Whatever you want to say.
I'm 26 and I'm a freelance worker. Yeah, so I'm self-employed. I don't really know what else to say.
What do you work as?
I'm a full-time tuition teacher. Yeah.
I see. Before we head into the thick of it, give us your brief thoughts on the entire thing.
I think it's quite normal that there is this kind of toxicity happening. It's just more of like the severity of it, how bad it is. Yeah.
Okay, so in case you listeners to this point still have no idea what we're going to talk about, we are going to talk about the NOC/Sylvia Chan saga. I thought about it for a while because at first when I first brought this topic up to the boys, I didn't. It was meant to be an entire episode just to talk about this, but then I realized that there is something larger at hand that I want to cover instead, and I don't want to dedicate the entire hour-long episode to them alone. But at the time of recording, last night there literally was like new updates coming out, so it changed my entire outline of conversation. It changed all the talking points, and I think the episode is not easily going to be 1.5 hours. But yes, the entire larger matter at hand that I do want to address is not just the entire saga. I'm using that as just a baseline, but it's really to talk about when we enter the workforce, what sort of toxic work culture that we experience. You know, not just the culture in terms like if we leave office on time means we are seen as lazy, right? That's one of it. But even other more live elements like toxic bosses or toxic colleagues that manipulate their way for you to do their job for them, or even toxic clients and bosses and whoever lah, right? And even if you're on a management level, you can actually have toxic subordinates that will find a way to get out of the work that you set for them. Right? So we are going to be dissecting everything there tonight, but mainly the NOC saga as a baseline. Okay, so if all of you haven't been caught yet, I don't know what country you're living in. So what happened is about 2 weeks ago, there were leaks of private conversations of Sylvia using profanities, some towards the situation, some directly towards people. And the leaks are from a page called SG Chicken Rice. Although it's not really spelled chicken, it's C-I-C-K, chicken. But then again, I mean, if you go by Malay terms, cicak is also, C-I-C-A-K. So chicken, whatever lah. The page is basically SG Chicken Rice. Okay, the leaks first appeared on Instagram and on TikTok. And then after it spread like wildfire. I think it was an overnight kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
So have you guys seen any of all these alleged leaks?
It was entertaining.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not very familiar with NOC in the beginning, so I really had to do thorough research about the whole thing. Oh gosh, the words that she used is kind of...
I can tell you, even coming to this recording, right, 2 weeks ago compared to now, when every day passes, the more afraid I am to tackle this topic, because I would dare say this is by far the juiciest piece of news coming out from any local content. Locally lah. I mean, if you don't compare worldwide, locally in the entertainment industry, this is one of the juiciest this year. And
thus far a lot of the news that come out are mostly morally wrong. Or
I mean, what were other things that came out this year? Dikosh is last year lah, so that one don't really count.
This year?
And we purposely didn't talk about Dikosh.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Wait, was Dikosh last year or this year?
Last year.
I think he was like incarcerated this year.
Yeah. It was last year.
But it was a last year incident.
Yeah, it was a last year incident. Then
they brought it up like, oh, he's finally in or something like that.
Oh, I see. Wait, is he in jail already as of now?
Yeah,
I heard he hasn't been. No, last.
But he hasn't. Okay, basically he hasn't been appearing for any YouTube videos, and apparently,
of course not lah. He's not allowed.
Yeah,
to.
the whole Dikosh channel is down, and the Dikosh boys have actually set up their own YouTube channel called Ready Set Bro.
I see.
Yeah.
Really sad.
I
Yeah,
know
like
about
Ready Set Bro.
the Ready Set Bro thing.
Yeah.
But last I kept track of the Dikosh matter is he has been charged, but he hasn't been sentenced.
I think, yeah.
So right now, I don't know whether is he still waiting for sentencing, likely in November, or is he already incarcerated in jail/prison? In prison.
I don't think so. They will release any
I
information.
think they would, because even when he was officially charged with 9 charges, it was all over the news, or at least all over social media.
But I don't think they will tell you like, oh, when he went in exactly and when he's coming
No,
out, because
unlikely.
especially he's an online personality,
Yeah.
nobody is gonna.
No lah, they don't normally do that
Yeah,
for
they
anybody.
don't do that
Yeah.
anybody, right?
Yeah.
I see. Well, so then again, it's still not wrong to say that this whole Sylvia NOC case is the biggest thing that's happened this year thus far. We still got 2 months to go. Alright, we'll see.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, when I first brought this topic up to the boys, in fact, SK here was like saying, let's not do it immediately. Let's wait one more to see the story unfolds. Oh, and lo and behold, last night, the unfolding was so much that it blew the door wide open. Like, everything that I wanted to talk about is now minute compared to what news was just released. Okay, but anyway, we'll just go through it from top to bottom lah, okay? So after all these leaks happened, everyone started to investigate what happened. So apparently it kind of sort of started, or at least what I want to start from is in the year 2018 or 19, I can't remember which year, NOC created a reality TV game show, talent scout show called Knockout.
Yeah.
So what this show did was it lured in micro-influencers to participate, take part in challenges, and eventually the winner will get a bunch of free gifts and a contract to work with NOC full-time. One of the allegations is apparently Sylvia tried to script the show, revealing that she did not fancy one of the talents, aka Samantha Tan, and request her show producers to come out with an exit plan for Samantha. Clearly it didn't work for her because she won the series. Right, so part of that story is one of the reasons why she was not she did not fancy Samantha was because apparently Samantha had a 3-year government bond. So there was a bit of some legal grey area there that the lawyers had to go through, because then Samantha would not technically 100% belong to NOC per se. So that's probably what sparked Sylvia off to want to remove her from the show. So apparently during the filming, right, Sylvia would scream at the talents on set off camera. At one point where, like they were on break and they were sitting at some corner having their lunch, right, and they were talking amongst themselves, but Sylvia was doing something nearby. It got on her nerves. She screamed at them to shut the fuck up while throwing a water bottle in their direction. Right, that's already kind of a huge red flag right there. Next thing is, even during the shoot, because, Sylvia had a PA and she used terms like fucking useless and fucking retard on him directly to his face. Okay, that's one of the few things. I'll just go through the entire list. Okay, Sylvia on many occasions have insulted Samantha, calling her dumb, bitch, fuckface and more. Mostly on WhatsApp that we can tell, that we can gather from. Maybe not to her directly, because it seems like only when this thing got leaked is where Samantha first knew about it. Seemed like it lah. Right, then Sylvia in one instance has also called one of her staff fucking retarded. Based on the screenshot, I feel that it could go a different way where she was calling the situation, because maybe like she was pissed. Right, like the staff did something that was not according to what she ordered. So like the staff sort of fucked up lah, basically. Right, so it was just one line of fucking retarded, but it didn't say you fucking retard or what. So it could easily go a second route as, she was just angry at the situation. We don't know for sure, but I've asked a few people's opinions and all of them think that it's directed towards the person. News also broke that a lot of the influencers and talents within NOC, crew and staff have resigned. Like, they mass resigned together because they couldn't take it anymore. Even Ryan, from what I know, stepped down as CEO. He's now just a paid staff.
No, he was a COO.
Yeah,
right, he stepped down.
Sylvia is the CEO.
He stepped down already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If my investigations are correct, he stepped down since April 2021. So leaving Sylvia as the sole showrunner. Again, comparing my notes from the news that blew open last night, Sylvia is actually not the CEO, although she retains the majority share. Right, so that is the part that's a bit murky that I'm not too sure about, right? So back to what I was saying, influencers and artists like Samantha Tan, Nicole, Isabel, Rachel Wan, Gabriel and more all resigned. I don't know if it's at the same time, but it feels like around the same time period, or maybe a little bit staggered lah, here and there. Next, when this whole thing leaked, those aforementioned influencers that left, they stepped out and defended Samantha's honor over her remarks. They were like all living Insta stories saying that what, but Samantha is not a fuckface. You know, she's not dumb. She's the kindest person that you ever meet. Just in case you don't know, Samantha Tan has I think a part-time job or full-time job. I'm not too sure what, but she's a childcare teacher. So she deals with kids all the time. Alright? That is the story that the viewers know. Okay, that's the most we get.
So I assume that the bond was actually due to her childcare.
Could be. Okay. Samantha Tan on the day itself of the leak also left a story on her profile reassuring the public that she's okay. I think a couple days later, NOC sends a cease and desist letter to the SG Chicken Rice page. And I saw that in the morning, and then I went to work a few hours later. I saw that and actually Chicken Rice were asking for crowdfunding to get a lawyer as well. Then within that same evening, they have apparently rebutted with their own lawyer's letter. Apparently they received free representation pro bono by another law firm, which apparently their rebuttal letter was quite savage. I won't go into the details of that right now because there's a lot to cover. Fast forward a little bit more. 2 weeks, exactly 14 days after the thing first happened, Sylvia finally sort of stepped out. You know, like she left an apology, air quotes, on her Instagram. A few hours after her apology came out, Samantha Tan again stood out and pointed out inaccuracies within her apology. Basically calling her apology fake right? Saying that she don't really mean it and there are lies within her apology, which is a huge no-no I mean, if you're someone in Sylvia's shoes and you've been caught red-handed and you throw an apology, it shouldn't have any more lies already. At this point, you're just making yourself look worse. Then shortly after, NOC leased their office for sale on Commercial Guru. We don't know if it's related, but it all happened within the same period of time. And again, shortly after, the listing was taken down. We don't know if it's a troll or not. I highly doubt so, because only agents can use their own account on Commercial Guru. Not any Tom, Dick and Harry can use it.
From what I know, it changed to lease.
Oh, is it?
Is it changed to lease? Yeah.
I didn't check that far.
No idea.
There's too many branches on this story to follow already.
Yeah, I may be wrong.
Way too many already. I'm going to go down a much shorter list, a bit of more of a rapid quick fire on other things that happened. There was a new update last night on a very specific blog spot. I forgot what it's called now, but y'all can go and find out. I'm sure it's very easy.
And the silence.
Right. So I made point form notes from the blog spot yesterday. So there was an insider that leaked Zoom calls of the meeting, like internal meetings. And a few things to take note is when the whole thing happened, not only did Sylvia use the NOC account to send the cease and desist letter to Ashley Chicken Rice, they also sent internally a non-disclosure compliance agreement to all the current and ex staff. Basically, in short, saying that you are not to review anything and you cannot talk to anyone. There was a few other leaks that showed screenshots of WhatsApp conversations from Sylvia in 2018 saying that she apparently hates Ryan and Dikosh and already had plans to divorce Ryan since 2018. Their divorce was finalized in 2020. She has called staff lazy for leaving work at 7 p.m. She makes the staff work until 4 a.m. daily for a period of time, not sure how long. Sylvia is also using company resources to fund her own projects, both money and manpower. Company has no HR department, apparently. Ryan is apparently an unofficial HR rep as he takes the time to listen to the grievances of any employees as much as he can. Things got really bad, really bad internally after Ryan and Sylvia's official divorce in 2020. Payments to talents and employees were apparently delayed for up to a year. Not just that, their payments with clients was apparently watered down to a minimal percentage. So let's say they were supposed to be paid like I don't know how many percent, but it was down all the way to only about 10%. Sylvia apparently cheated on Ryan with a mystery person since back then, but that's not relevant to our topic today, so I'm not going to cover that. Sylvia bashes on influencers, in one instance calling out certain famous local Indian influencer, citing her as fat as the wardrobe was trying to get her sizing privately. Also calling her a rhinoceros, saying that if she can't fit in the dress, she can wear a garbage bag. Basically, fat shaming. Sylvia also used company funds to pay for her personal gains, like personal home rental, forging salary documents for her brother so he can attain S-Pass and eventually PR status. That is what's the term you coined it, Basil?
It's immigration fraud.
Immigration fraud, right? Sylvia misuses company resources and manpower for personal ventures like the whole chili sauce thing. And the final thing that actually made me very scared of this topic, which is she bartered sex for services with a Korean company using one of the ex-NOC talent, which is unknown to us.
Allegedly,
right
yeah. So,
allegedly.
yeah.
So everything I'm saying right here is allegedly, because not like Sylvia has come out and said, yes, I did all this kind of nonsense. Right? So please don't sue us. I also cannot afford.
It's okay, get pro bono.
Yeah. So
Okay, go funding me.
So everything that I've just mentioned over the last 15 minutes, wow, is more or
crazy.
less what happened over the last 2 weeks. Please share your views with me. I won't rest a while.
The first thing that I would say, that anybody who actually, any company organization immediately start to do cease and desist after any incident is actually asking for trouble, to be honest, because that's the last thing that you want to do.
It's a bully move lah.
It's a bully move. Yeah, you're making yourself look very, very bad from there.
I mean, I didn't really get so like caught up with the saga until last night when the videos dropped.
Yeah.
It like it was more entertaining than my Champions League match. So
Okay.
I kind of have to do, like I said, I have to do a lot of research on the whole saga, because again, I
feel like I've never worked so hard before.
yeah. But one thing about me is I am not a big I'm not very into Singapore YouTubers for to begin with. So when this thing happened, I'm like, what? NOC? What?
Okay,
Okay.
tell you what.
Yeah.
Let's start simple. Okay, let's start from the beginning. How much do you guys know about NOC?
not a lot at
Not
all,
a
to be
lot.
honest.
Do you watch any of their content whatsoever?
I do watch their content because I do know some people in the company itself. Yeah. Just to support the people that I know lah. But that's about it. You know, I don't really know like, oh, Ryan and Sylvia and
I mean, you don't know them personally lah.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know
like
them
the showrunners lah.
yeah, correct.
Any show in particular you enjoy?
Very long ago lah, but Contour and Highlight. You know, I don't know
the
if
one
you know.
hosted by Michelle
and Elna, yeah.
Right. So so both SK and Basil, you don't watch the content at all,
No,
right?
I don't really.
I
watch
mean,
that
at most you
content.
see glimpses of it on
No,
on
I always
YouTube
see
lah.
like the recommended or people sharing, but
Yeah.
I don't really click because it's not really my kind of thing.
Okay lah,
Yeah.
I've always kind of enjoyed NOC's content. Not in terms of the content, but the way they shot certain things. I used to enjoy their travelogues. I felt that the way they shot travelogues was very nice. It gave me learning points, you know, since I'm also doing videography and whatever.
Right.
I learned from the way they did stuff, what kind of graphics they use. There was one video that was released a couple years ago where I think it was Singapore's 50th or something. Then Ryan, like, he released a like 8-9 minute introduction B-roll of Singapore. And that was very, very well done. Really, really very well done. I don't even think at my level now I can do that. Right, but apparently they use like over a week to shoot lah. So it's really a lot of effort. Due to my current job scope now, I enjoy their Food King show. Not Food King, Reno King.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
Because they shoot a lot of interior and I would... What is 参考 in English?
Take reference.
I will take reference like how they do their B-rolls also. So whenever I watch their show, it's really for the B-rolls. Sometimes, honestly, as a guy, for the talent. But I only like certain talents. Like I like Victoria Cheng. Right? Because she's attractive. Anyway, not the point today. Right. So
Cannot deny.
yeah, I know for a fact Basil also same a bit same. I guess the next part that I wanna to go into, right, as successful as NOC is, you can technically still call them a startup, right? What are your thoughts on stressful startup cultures where in the workplace during tense situations, especially in production, because we are both in production, during tense, like, you know, like crunch time, we tend to use more colorful language. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, you think it's normal in the industry, or is it overblown or what?
I think it's okay to use to vent your frustration, but never use it to name call somebody. Like, if you are just pissed off, you're like, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, CB or whatever, you know? But
Yeah.
you don't go to
Circuit
somebody.
breaker.
You don't go to somebody and say, you know, you're a fucking retard or something.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
very uncalled for.
Like when you label someone officially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree, because even when I'm doing like slightly larger shoots with crew and and talents on set. Number one is I will not use such language in front of the client.
Yeah,
For sure
that's
lah.
forgiven, yeah? That's forgiven.
There were apparently some allegations that she even used such languages in front of the client. Like she doesn't care. Like she already feels that she's above the client, and the fact that they are paying us, so this is how we work. So
I mean, some of the accounts that I read that says that she's 2 to 3 hours late for client shoots.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's a bit. I'm kind of weird by the fact that based on all the allegations given, right? For example, we share about the fact that NOC happened to have a office that is worth $1 million, which probably I don't think so. They bought it cheap.
I don't think the office per se is worth $1 million, but if you add in the renovation, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but the thing is, if she can afford this kind of thing, then the likelihood is her business is pretty well. And which amazes me, how did she manage to still
I can tell you in currently context, for any startup that have a 20-man team, for them to have a $1 million revenue a year is not hard one.
Yeah, that's right.
Like honestly, with the times now, earning $1 million revenue for a company is not difficult. It's not a lot unless you're a one-man show. But they have a team of 20 full-timers. So they definitely have that kind of profits and revenue to pay the staff. Although also understanding that most of the staff are underpaid lah.
Yeah.
In ratio to the working hours that they put in. Yeah, I still want to touch on the same subject. What do you guys think collectively of vulgarities in the workplace? I mean, knowing that right now, Shanna and SK, you are in the education sector. When you are in the workplace, you are basically teaching students. So obviously, you won't use vulgarities. But what about behind the scenes? Like, you have a lot of experience working with centers, right? So behind the scenes, outside of a classroom, when you are discussing about syllabus or whatever, do you experience such things yourself?
Technically speaking, for education sectors, we also have this kind of habit that we don't really speak a lot of vulgarities. Like, we replace words. So rather than saying shit, we'll say shucks.
I see.
Yeah, or sometimes, CB, we just say chicken McNuggets, something like that.
Don't mind.
No, we do that also. So there is the mindset that, and for me, I even have to make it, and I made an effort because I think Basil and Andric can speak for me. Is that I used to be those super vulgar monsters.
Even right now, when we are off camera or off any recording, right? Even before you want to curse, you will give us a warning first. Like, hey, sorry for saying this, but fuck them.
Yeah, I would say.
Like, you always give us a warning first, then we're like, okay.
I'm being conditioned to the point that I barely could speak.
Yeah, it's definitely some kind of conditioning there.
Yeah. It used to be his like punctuation mark.
Yeah,
It's true. Punctuation mark.
What about Shanna? What about you?
I'm the people that I have around me, they speak a lot of vulgarities around me. So like when it depends on who I'm with. So if I'm like having class, then I try not to, or like even not at all. And it also depends on the age of the student. If they are already like almost like in secondary school, they are already doing it in school. So what's the difference? But definitely we need to maintain like a line. There's a line between me and the kid, and like we don't like get to become too like close and get the line blurred . Yeah.
Okay, so what about your experiences from your previous jobs before you became a tutor?
I mean,
if I could mention this, if you're not, then I'll cut this part out.
Okay.
You used to be in a parkour company, right?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah.
Wow.
So I would assume that back then in that company, you were with people who were like you, like a bit wild child type. So how was it like then?
I think that was quite bad. I didn't really enjoy it. So it was. I mean, I don't really know what to say.
I mean, share about the culture there, lah. Like,
I think
like explain to us how the company functioned. And things like that.
The company was like made up of like two guys that were both trying to lead the team, and they could not agree on who would lead, and they had issues between the two of them, which ended up in me trying to mediate the whole situation, and then they turned it around and made it my fault that the whole team disbanded. So it's very toxic. Yeah.
But what about in terms of the day-to-day conversations and communications there? And like, how did y'all handle clients? I mean, I assume y'all were a working, functioning company.
We were
with
a working
income coming in.
We didn't. When I was there wasn't clients yet. So we didn't even have any clients at all, and then it just disbanded.
Oh, I
That's
see.
what I remembered. Yeah.
see.
I think they were, because I was brought in to help them do their marketing.
I see.
But they could not agree on
The direction.
the direction, and then end up like I couldn't get anything started, so we didn't have any clients.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was basically just...
It's just there and then bye. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Then how was the communications like?
Communication was, in real life, like, seems fine, but like you can tell from the tone of, like, the undertones of their voices that, like, oh, you know, I really hate you, but I have to talk to you because, like, you know, you're in my team, I have no choice, you know, that kind of, like, very condescending and, like, yeah, sarcastic, maybe even.
So were there any like toxic work cultures that you experienced back then when you were there, aside from all those that you already just mentioned? Maybe anything that happened to you directly?
I cannot remember it yet.
Okay,
it's
then
too
it's okay.
long. You might have to cut it out.
That's okay.
Honestly.
I mean, so far nothing that you've said is too sensitive that I have to cut out yet lah. Okay, what about you, SK? What about before you were a tutor? You used to work in a school as well, right? And even prior to that, you were working in a media production company.
Yeah.
How was it like for you?
Like what Basil say, I no vulgarities are my punctuation marks. I pretty much the F word is stuck in my mouth for almost quite a while. I remember this.
Fuck.
Yeah, really, really. And the thing is, it got to a point where when I started learning or started going into this industry, I have one of our so-called business partners really have to emphasize that if I ever speak one word of, now that I'm technically in an education line, if I ever speak one word of vulgarities, he was gonna punch me. So yeah, and it was like, okay, fine. And I remember I remember my style of, I have to really condition myself. One of the reasons was really because there was one time I legitimately, like, I was in the moment, but I realized, by the time I realized it, right, I already spoken a specific vulgarities in front of a bunch of P5 kids, which I shouldn't be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can tell you what's the context. Basically, is I'm supposed to tell them that basically computers are because I'm supposed to be teaching programming, and I wanted to share with them that computers are dumb, and I have no idea what went into my head at that point of time, and I just say, you know what, computers, let me tell you one secret, computers are fucking dumb. And everyone and all the kids went crazy, and apparently I got complaint out of that. So it got to me to a point that I have to really start. So when I actually move on to another school, and subsequently moving on to my current, tutoring and training job, the very first thing that I'll always do is I'll make sure that I don't swear. And it took me a very long time to really cut the habit out.
Yeah, I think because it's like a habit, you get too used to it, and you don't even realize that you're even saying like vulgarity. So actually, it took me a while also to get used to, like, oh, I'm teaching children.
Yeah.
I need to be very mindful of the things I say. Not even vulgarities. You can't even say like, this is an easy question, why can't you do it? You can't even say this kind of thing. You have to be very sensitive with the things you say. Like, you can't be like, oh, you're so stupid. Like, even stupid is so sensitive for a kid.
Yeah. And it got to a point that I was so scared of saying those words. Then sometimes when I really want to legitimately make them remember that, for example, programming, I kept saying that, computers are really dumb because they need you to give every single instructions, like, constantly, and you have to really make all the instructions down to the details. So I want to reinforce it. I just spell it out the word, like, computers are really just, I will spell out the words for you, IDIOT. Then when they shouted, when the moment they shouted, oh, idiot, then I was like, oh, you say it, you don't say it anymore, okay? Yeah, I turn it as a fun thing for them. But the thing is, I got to the point that I don't really want to, like I said, these words are not supposed to be said on class.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and even the word stupid technically is really for especially for kids, they treated stupid, especially for primary school context, they treated stupid as a vulgarity in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then even though that sometimes I will have to say those things, so it the positive part was that when you are surrounded by a bunch of teachers, you notice creative way to really substitute the word, the vulgarities. Yeah, like for example, we have sharks, I have Shaznik, F will be
Scheisse.
Yeah, sure.
Or like instead of oh my god, it'll be like oh my goodness.
Yeah, oh my
you
goodness.
know, like
yeah.
Wait, what's wrong? Oh my god.
I mean, it's like
Because
it's
you
like,
can't bring religion into it.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
Oh my
pretty much.
God.
Yeah, it's not even.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
The F word technically, the F word can be substituted with freaking
Fish.
or fish. Yeah.
Yeah,
just
like-
say fornicate.
like seriously, me and Basil, we just coined something new, like you know how if you speak and then there's this slang called damn son, like we made it even worse because we like 干儿子. So like that's even way worse. We are doing the reverse way, Basil, wrong.
That's what production does to you.
Okay, so speaking about production now hand over to you, Basil. In your entire lifetime being in production work, right? Have you ever been through anything like that?
Like what?
Like like you notice like maybe having internal chats with yourself and the team and the language gets this way.
No, I think most of the time that I've been there, people like to avoid conflict. But then the issue is that when people avoid it long enough and it becomes a problem. Yeah, and then everything just simmers and people start to act in ways that they shouldn't be acting, and yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So you haven't actually experienced it lah. Like anyone within your team or workforce talking to each other this way.
No, I think people are generally not open to sharing what they are not happy about, which is, I think it's quite a problem lah. And when you ask, they say nothing.
I see. Okay, so jumping back to topic, clearly the first hurdle that we passed is the fact that Sylvia uses such language on and to her staff, right? Or even within conversations. I feel that even in the current landscape and climate, even using the word fuck for the situation might be sensitive already. People are obviously freaking out about the way she is talking to her staff using such language, but do you think they are freaking out this hard because of a gender bias? Would it have been not so much of a news if today, let's say it was done by Ryan or a male employer,
Not really.
where it's expected that they talk like that, especially if, let's say, the boss looks like a beng lah.
Not really, because she.
No, I think it's really up to the individual. There's nothing to do with gender here.
Yeah, I think that one of the things you have to understand is that she included a lot of insults in her. It's not just about the fucking retard thing. She actually have to, include things like calling the Indian YouTuber.
She's damn fat.
Yeah.
She's already fat. She's clearly fat.
Yeah. So all these things technically are the ones that she's doing, and she's also, you have to understand that she uses very
Explicit.
explicit word even towards Samantha in a way, and even if she didn't even include the vulgarities, right, it's already bad enough.
I mean, if you can see from the screenshots that she's like overly demanding. It's like you don't reply her in like 30
minutes.
seconds or 3 minutes, then
Yeah.
like, oi,
Reply.
cannot reply reply leh,
Yeah.
I think even if it's done by a guy, the effect will be the same lah.
Or even worse actually.
Yeah.
No, but but that's what I'm saying. If let's say today, a male employer of a specific company does the exact same thing, calls someone a fuckface, calls someone a retard, it's still wrong. I'm not condoning that it's okay because he's a guy, but I feel that it wouldn't have been that huge a deal.
Actually,
Because people would see him and be like, I expected this kind of guys.
no,
like that
actually
one.
it will be worse because consider the fact that most of them or most of the conversation or the description, right, it tends to direct to ladies. So if you think about it,
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's directed to a lady, it might be worse than if it was a guy directing it to a guy.
So that still falls under the gender bias thing, man.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just who is the one dishing out, it's who is the
Who is
recipient as well.
receiving, Yeah.
Right, not? So today, if let's say, okay, we just go through all the variables. If it was a lady saying it to another lady, sure, that's bad because it's exactly what's going on now. But if it was Sylvia, let's say, calling her PA retard, which actually that happened, do you feel as bad? Okay, and then turn the tables again. If today it was a guy calling a lady, hey, you slut, right? You fuckface, this kind of thing. Obviously, people will like, hey, why you like that? Like, why you treat girl like that? Right, not? That would be the standard response. But if today, let's say I work with Basil, right? And let's say he works for me, I'm like, hey, Basil, fuck you, why you, this kind of thing. Do you think people will care? Maybe not as much.
So it's like the work culture is becoming like a woman's charter.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Yeah. So
Well, that's for you to say.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
maybe.
so that's
Yeah.
where my question was driving it. Do you think that her actions were blown a bit more out of proportion because of the gender bias?
No, if it's anything that is not because of gender.
No, the question is it because she's a woman or is it because the receiving end is a woman?
Yeah.
Both. Either way. Either way. Would it have been...
I think it is generally bad, but the gender bias will make will like make it worse or like form the severity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the case for Sylvia, is actually, I would say that the blowback technically was going to be slightly lighter if it was a guy who.
Yeah lah.
So in a way that I would put it in a more direct way, there is that she technically get the minor is not as serious as.
I think for me it's more of like if it was one occasion it would be okay, but she was caught doing it to multiple people.
Yes. Yeah, it's a consistent pattern.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's a
So
pattern of
because it's
behavior.
consistent, it's very severe.
Yeah, and in fact, it wasn't. I will put it directly is that during when the thing started blowing up, it wasn't. It was only directed to one person, and it wasn't that serious. Partially because of her gender. Again, it was to be a little bit off topic. It's really because of a later action that made things worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean everything that leaked up until last night, it was at most you can call it up to just workplace misconduct.
Yes, correct.
That's the most. But everything that surfaced last night, it's basically criminal already. Okay, but we haven't reached there yet.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so in a lot of companies, it's very common that you have more than one director, right? You have a CEO, you have a COO, you have a CFO even, and these are all positions of management and power.
Yes.
Right. So in startups like that have more than one in charge to look up to, it's a very common practice that they instill for their employees, the good cop, bad cop, I would say a strategy. I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, it's a shit strategy. You're not interrogating a suspect, you know.
Yeah.
But the theory is there would be, if let's say a company there are two CEOs lah, right?
Yeah.
Two CEOs or CEOs or whatever lah, right? One person is the bad cop, in this case, i.e. Sylvia. Everyone fears her. One person is a good cop, i.e. Ryan. The only mistake I feel is that the good cop, bad cop are not even on good terms, right? Even parents, right? We as Asian, we grew up with two parents, usually lah,
Yeah.
right? One father, one mother, and usually there would be at least one of the parent that is a bad cop, right? But somehow it turned out fine for us. We are who we are today. We are molded by it, partly because of the education that we are brought up in that home environment. So I guess that's what they're trying to simulate in the work environment as well. Having one good cop, one bad cop. Again, I'm not saying that this is a great plan, but it's what most companies adopt.
I think what I feel is that like the good cop, bad cop may not work in all scenarios, and that there are many ways to skin a cat. Honestly, so
Good thing we're not covering the Yishun cat murders. That's a
Wow.
very bad example to use.
yeah. I mean, a good cop, bad cop is not effective to everybody, so not everybody can accept a good cop, bad cop.
And I would say that in the case for NOC, if you're talking about Ryan being the COO and she's being the CEO, technically speaking, people are going to be looking for Ryan no matter what, because it's the COO, what, correct? By nature, CEO should be focusing on the business strategy part. But to the extent that even at that point, when you said that the good cop, bad cop thing led to this, let's do it in a blunt way. They are not painting Sylvia as a bad cop. They are painting Sylvia as a bully. That's a different thing already.
No, I haven't reached there yet.
Yeah, but you see the good cop, bad cop thing, right, implies that both parties are somehow complicit in like gaslighting their employees, you know?
Yeah, a bit.
Which is like, to me, is like, no lah, you don't have to do this lah. We're not in some 1970s SME tauke kind of situation anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, granted, the good cop, bad cop plan is a pretty old-fashioned method of running a company,
correct.
not just that, of running your staff,
Yeah.
your staff team. Let's take a short break from the Ryan NOC thing and let's talk about ourselves. Have you guys ever been through any toxic work cultures on your own, or any stories to share from someone you know possibly?
Okay, when I was younger, maybe like 16, I was working.
So 10 years ago.
Yeah. Wow, thanks for telling everyone my age.
Hey,
You mentioned your age.
Yeah,
at the start already.
True. I'm dreaming. Okay, yeah, but I was working for a place that I was doing like front of house, guest relations.
So
And-
basically in hospitality.
Yeah, pretty much. And then so you have lunch breaks, right?
Yeah.
So our lunch breaks was staggered in groups. But because I was running the office portion of it, I was alone. So I always ate alone and things like that. So I would start my lunch on my own, and then like the group of them that were working like in the field will come up to eat. And then what one of the managers did was like, oh, don't sit with her, she just leave her alone. Then they all will like sit at the other end of the table. And then I'm thinking like, you're like almost easily double my age. Why are you like so childish? I'm just a graduate O-level student that just wants to work and earn money and like pocket money, and then you have to do it until like that. It's
Like
it just,
must play politics lah.
yeah, basically play politics when I'm just trying to work for the company. Yeah, it was quite toxic.
How did that make you feel?
I felt very like isolated for no good reason. Like I didn't even do anything wrong. Like all I did was work.
So
And I kept to myself because like I'm basically alone in the office also. Yeah.
So why do you think you were ostracized like that?
Honestly, I have no clue. Like I just feel that maybe they felt like, oh, this girl like always work in the office, then got aircon. She's really so privileged. Then who gives her the right to like stay in the office all the time, blah blah blah. I'm like, but in my mind I'm like, I'm not required to go down. I don't know lah. Honestly, it was very weird. Yeah.
Any experiences you want to share, SK?
Okay, I don't know whether I wanted to say the particular industry I am in. I will used to be in.
You can redact out whatever you do want to include.
Yeah, I will not include the industry because that's the only industry I work with in this particular company. Or I say that it's basic. The company was relatively small initially. I only have one boss and myself during the time, but as the later portion, which is almost after close to a year, there was a restructure of the company by the head office in all the way in another country because the company was supposed to be a subsidiary from there. And they have a restructuring and they hire a couple of few people who are basically going to be there as the the director, and also one of them happens to be a GM. So the director was I don't know whether I want to say that I'm not very comfortable with people, especially guys, who is objectifying women to begin with, even at the very, very early days of my
No one should be lah, but okay, carry on.
Yeah, and there was I'm really not very big fan of going down after work just to, have a bar, going down to a nearby bar near our workplace just to have a drink. That's something that I don't really like to do that. Those after work parties.
Understand.
So and
KTV culture.
Yeah, the KTV cultures. And the worst thing was two incidents happened. One happened to be three incidents happened. One was when I was there. There was this so-called beer lady that they are trying to hook me up with because they knew that I was single, and I was immediately very uncomfortable with it. Then the second incident was there was a few clash between one of a newly hired colleague against the director over some creative decision, and both of them can just butt heads in the. It's a very small place. It's only like 4 people inside the office, but you can constantly see head buttings throughout the day between the director and her. And my last straw technically was when they were doing they wanted to hire some new faces to the particular workplace. So they found new grads, and there was this new grad who was, I think at that point of time, very young. She was like 21, 22. And again, they'll try to they try to look at it as the way the director hire was more of, look at this, she's quite cute, Hey, I tell you this, when I bring her in, right, you can try to, date her or that kind of thing. And I was like, and all the more when she came in and I know that she was attached and she was, and behind the scenes, behind her back, they were constantly like saying, hey, how about this? I arrange a meeting, or I arrange you and this so and so to go together. Maybe y'all can hook yourself up with that. Then I'm like, I legitimately got very, very frustrated. So that was my last day of work. I remember shortly after I tender and the last day of work, I was so frustrated with something. I legitimately just let the cat out of the bag. Whatever things that happened behind what I heard from this director, I just straight away review it to the girl because I kind of got fed up about it. So in the end, I don't know what happened at the end, but it resulted in a huge fight between me and the director. Not literal fight, but really a shouting session between both of us. So to me, that itself is already very toxic. And I think the group, this restructure happened a month, and I immediately only lasted that new restructured format for almost a month, and I couldn't even take it, and I just walked out. Yeah, so that was basically the worst one ever. Yeah.
I see.
Okay, anyway, let's just say that I have been in places or talking to people that they are basically 40, 50 years old, but the way that they do things is like, oh my god, can they be any more childish? Like, it's not just about it's genuinely not just about it genuinely is not just about the way that they do things, but also at the same time the way that they react. Like I can share one very typical incident. It's not me inside any schools at the time. I was actually doing freelance, and I've been to this particular company when I sat down and I spoke to this guy. Is actually 40, and I simply just talked about my expectations, and as someone, I want to make it clear that what I would need, and also basically what I hope what I can contribute. Shortly after we talk about this, and then this, by the way, just to make it clear, he's a boss, and he basically spread around every single freelance teacher during the particular course, saying that I'm over demanding, I'm hard to work, and I'm hard to work, and I'm also uncooperative. To the point that when I was doing my teaching at that point of time, he suddenly switched me to become so there were basically, the class is one main trainer and one assistant role. So initially I was doing the main. Then all of a sudden he switched me to become assistants, which I have no experience doing so. So I would tend to end up overwriting the other person. So because of all the bad rep that happened, the main trainer spoke to me and said, I heard so much things about you. Yeah, I know what kind of person you are. So would you mind please, hold back a bit and do it? Like I've never seen this guy before. So I was sat down and go. That's why. Then shortly after this, when I sat down and I asked, who said? May I know what was being said about me, and who said it? Then it was revealed that the boss actually go around saying all these nasty things about me. And first of all, this is the first time I'm working with this boss. I barely talked to him. The only thing I talked to him was basically sharing my experience, and I didn't even know this trainer prior to that. So to me, that is, and that guy is almost like 40, 50 years old. So yeah, it doesn't reflect on the age, but consider me saying that he claimed that later on that he felt offended because of what I said, like claiming as somebody who is at my age shouldn't be this demanding. So I sat down and go, okay, fine. And I remember just walked out the whole, after that, I think I didn't complete the whole entire assignment. I just walked out.
Back during when I did my internship, what happened was that like I was actually quite ill for the first 2 weeks. So like I was in and out of going to the hospital and things like that. So like as a boss, you would think that, oh, this girl is like trying to chowking, skip work or or things like that. Then what happened was, then we had to do this like a camp where we had to stay in, and at that time there was a whole group that brought their kids in. It's like for like the dads would bring their children to like explore the area and things like that. So we brought them around, and then there was this particular dad had a pair of like twins that were like 2 boys that were 6 years old, and then one 13-year-old. So 4 of them. Then I looked at the bag of the 6-year-old kid, and then I saw like 2 cans of beer. And then I just asked like, hey, is this yours? Say, oh no, it's daddy one. Daddy asked us to bring. Then I'm like, why would he ask you to bring? He don't know he like to drink beer. Then I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing to this 6-year-old kid? Okay, then he actually came in and he reeked of beer. Like he smelled of beer all over. Okay, then it's really trouble, right? So I actually informed my manager. Then my manager said, okay, we will keep an eye on him. Then I'm like, okay, that's it. Like, do we just stop there? Then I was like, okay lor. Then I just continued to take that group because they were split up in multiple groups lah. So I was in charge of his group. Then they basically stayed over at the location, and what I heard when I woke up was that he actually so-called escaped the facility. So basically they will lock down the facility for security reasons lah. And he actually broke out to drink and come back. So he was actually, apparently lah, this is what I heard, was that he was reprimanded and told not to do it again. But I mean, there's no again because they only staying one night. Yeah. Okay. Then because they stayed over, they had sleeping bags that we provided for them. So I actually asked them to like, put it on my hands lah, you know. And as he was putting it on my hand, he actually also caressed my hand. Okay. Oh dear. So I mean, honestly, it's not a big deal. Okay, but like because of what happened like in the first 2 weeks of my internship, right? They were actually trying to fail me. They're trying to fail my internship. Okay, and then so I told my manager, I said like, oh, you know, he caressed my hand. You know, I'm very traumatized. I don't think like, you know, I can continue like going on with this lah. And then he said like, oh, do you want to change the whole do you want to change team? Like, you want to go to another group? Then I was thinking like, you know, the kids in that group are already very, very attached to me and things like that. I didn't want the kids to like have to go through a change of a new leader, and it's already the last day. So I thought like, okay lah, just continue with it, you know, just suck it up, grow some, and you know, continue. Then I think the subsequent few days, they actually the managers, everything like actually brought me into the meeting room and talked to me. Say like, oh, are you okay? How are you feeling? Then I say, oh, I really don't feel good. I might report it to the police. Okay. And then the manager said like, why would you report it to the police? Then I say, because it is molestation, you know. It is reportable and I don't feel good lah, you know. I'm mentally affected, you know. And then they at the same time they were also threatening my internship. Like they were threatening to fail me. So then I said like, oh, you know, I really might report it to the police. And this was what she said. She said, is your word against his word? You're not going to win the case. The police is just going to brush it off and like just chuck it aside. And then I looked at her dead in the eyes. She has a P6 child of her own that has come to the office before. And I said, if this was your daughter, would you let it slide? And she kept quiet. And I looked at her and I said, this is not fair, you know. So I just walked out lah. And then a few weeks later, after the last day of my internship, I think 2 weeks later, I got a call, and then it was like the GM of my department. He's like, hi, how are you doing? You know, and the first, like, other than the basic salutations and blah blah blah, his next sentence was, oh, did you go to the police? Then I'm like,
that's the only thing they care about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing they care about. And I'm like, I don't know yet. Cause like, I'm also dreading to get my cert of pass or fail. So I had to leverage on this situation just to ensure that I pass. Because if I fail this internship, I will not get my diploma. And it was the last thing of my semester. Yeah, so it was very, very bad. So I eventually got my cert as a pass. Woohoo! And like, you know, I just let it slide lah. I didn't go to the police like what for. Yeah.
No, but it's kind of weird because it's like, why did they think that it would be trouble for them if you went to the police?
Because it would blow up into a very big situation.
Yeah, because it's problematic. Like
the company is a big company.
Yeah, and not to mention the company let in a drunkard to participate.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, for a fact that me as an intern, I had to inform them that, you know, there is a participant that reeks of alcohol and literally brought beer in. You know, why didn't y'all just get rid of it or like, you know?
Yeah. Oversights, man. It's terrible. And the fact that the person who told you it's not a big deal is also another woman. It's terrible.
Yeah, they just said like, oh, you need
terrible.
to there's no difference if you report or not.
I always say this when it didn't happen it's easier for her to say because it
didn't. Correct.
Yeah, it didn't happen to her. So
she was just trying to protect her position plus the reputation of the company,
Yeah.
which I feel is not right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than her own stuff.
I see. Okay, thank you all for sharing your personal experiences. So now that we have taken a bit of a break from the NOC saga, now it's time to bring it back again. Right, so I want to delve deeper into certain things that apparently have been recently surfaced allegedly. All right, so we can go down just a few. I don't think we can go down all, and now I think we'll die by the end of the night. Right? So, a few things that I specifically want to bring up, unless you guys also want to bring out yourselves, right? But a few things that really bothered me. Of course, number one is the one where she allegedly bartered sex for services with a courier company. How do you guys feel about that, Shanna? Especially you as a female, how do you feel about that? Because honestly, okay, my prerequisite thought into going into this particular alleged case is bartering sex for services is not a new thing. Yeah. It happens everywhere. Honestly, it happens everywhere behind closed doors. In the banking industry, you hear stories. In the finance industries, you hear stories. Actually, it's the same thing. In the property, insurance, even flight industry, you hear stories like that. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a new thing, but usually you hear as in like it always starts from the guy.
Yeah.
Right? Even in the present day and time, where with the help of the Women's Charter, of course, the female species as a whole is already starting to regain the right word, is starting to get some power and equality in the workplace.
Yeah.
Especially even in social situations.
Yeah.
Right. But it's still not equal yet. I mean, let's face the fucking facts. It's not equal yet. And we know that...
Still a man's world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And there's always the saying that, I'm not a lady, obviously, but there's always the saying that we ladies have to stick together. Right? If we don't protect ourselves, who will protect us? Kind of thing. Right? So how does it make you feel as a female when you can't even count on your female superior where she is actually pimping you out? If let's say it happens to you, or if you were in the shoes of that talent that got apparently pimped out. Because that's the one thing that bothered me the most about this entire thing.
I mean, honestly, like when I read what happened, right? When I read that particular segment of it, I was very, very disgusted that like a woman can sell another woman for their own gain, and it's just I'm out of words.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Blogspot post was extremely long, but this was close to the end. So by the time I reached that, I was also quite emotionally and mentally tired already. But then reading that really pushed me off the edge.
What the fuck?
Exactly, it really pushed me off the edge because everything that she has done, even honestly, even embezzlement, is not. It's
nothing comparable to
that's what takes the cake. Seriously, the bartering is
it's not that morally corrupt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Especially knowing the fact that Sylvia is someone that has been openly advocating for mental health.
Yeah, that was
right. You can easily find sources of any of her old articles or videos or whatever, right? Of her saying that she will protect her female staff, especially and she's a lady boss, so she will do all she can to fight for equal rights for her. You can find anything easily online.
It's ultimate betrayal of character.
Yeah, but the fact that now again, still allegedly, if it's true, it's a very heartbreaking thing. Like even for other females in the workforce in other companies, how are they going to know who they can trust? For all you know, going out to drink with your colleagues, you don't know if somebody out there in your team has a secret deal that you are not sure about. Of course, when I checked this out with my girlfriend last night, she said that she felt that the talent partly has fault because she allowed herself to be in that situation. She allowed herself to be drunk.
Yeah, I was going to say something like that.
I mean, like, even today, if let's say Shanna is going out for a celebration with her other friends and to drink and whatever, she can choose not to get drunk.
Correct.
She can go and drink, or you don't have to get drunk. Just control.
I'll probably put it play a little bit of devil's advocate here, not to Sylvia, but the reason why she may get drunk. But if you think about it, if she is being introduced in that situation by someone who is not only a lady but someone in position in power, she might be pressured to drink regardless. And for a lady, that's
not an excuse.
I mean, like you say, weak ladies need to stick together, right? What if she's the only weak lady there?
No,
Who's gonna...
not weak ladies. We ladies
need
to stick together.
We ladies.
Look, I would never say that this lady is strong, this lady is weak. Right?
Yeah.
It's just that the most common term you hear whenever any females face any imbalance in fairness in the workplace is they will always say we ladies need to stick together. Kind of thing lah. I mean, or at least that's what I've heard lah.
I mean, if you say they have to stick together, then they are weak lah. I mean, because I'm quite a strong personality, so I cannot understand like, getting pressured to drink.
I mean, it's not like just a stick together. Just look out for one another kind of
thing.
Look out for one another.
I mean, that's the way of saying. But essentially, we have to look out for one another.
Yeah.
Right. Like even if girlfriends go out drinking with their guy friends, there is a hidden pact between the girls. I mean, to my understanding, there is a hidden pact between the girls that they will look out for each other, make sure that each other don't get too drunk or don't misbehave or don't let anything bad happen to them or whatever. Like there is a hidden understanding there.
But what
you know what I mean?
But what if there was a trust and the trust was broken?
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Right. If whatever that was alleged is true, it's exactly what's happening. So my concern is knowing that this thing, if let's say it really comes to light, how are females in the workplace going to trust their own superiors if they're also female? Right? And how would it affect society as a whole moving forward? Are we taking a few steps back?
Because I think, right, to be honest, I'm not a lawyer, neither of us are. I think Sylvia may not get charged for this because there are too many variables at play.
Like it's too grey?
It's too grey. But she's already been judged in the
public eye.
A court of public opinion.
Yeah.
So that's going to affect her prospects. But she's definitely getting something for the embezzlement.
Yeah. And I don't think she would get charged for everything because it's just online. It's not like a personal account that they made into like evidence against her. Yeah.
Correct.
Because now all the accounts are anonymous. You cannot track it to the person who sent it.
Correct. Because in order for that to become something, somebody has to make a police report.
Yeah.
So why do you think a police report is not made till now?
Because apparently everyone's scared of her, right? From all the posts, there's the reason why they are still staying anonymous till this day. We don't know who are the ones
what
doing
she has
it.
on them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, fine.
Because people like Sylvia, right, they know how to collect leverage against the people that they want to have sort of like an advantage over. And I guess that's why they are so afraid of her, because they think she might damage their prospects in the industry. She might have dirt on them that they don't want people to know.
I mean,
blah,
objectively,
blah, blah.
Sylvia is pretty influential within the industry.
Correct.
You cannot deny that. I mean, you might not be a fan of their works, but she is influential.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically an influencer in the influencer circles,
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
She is. I honestly still wouldn't say she's at Xia Xue's level lah.
No.
No.
Xia Xue deserves her own tier and she's the only one there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And not to mention, Xia Xue is not going to go around telling people, I can help you just because of my namesake. She's not going to care about that.
That's
she really
true
doesn't care.
I mean, she knows, but she won't use it to her advantage.
Yeah.
At least that's what we know of her thus far lah.
Yeah.
Right. She's been always one of the more controversial characters that always shares her thoughts without thinking. But like what Basil said just now, because we had a convo just now, that there are certain lines that she won't cross.
No, I think Xia Xue is controversial, right? But she's honest.
Yes.
She got a moral compass that she...
Yeah. I mean, being honest is one thing, but I think you're right with the moral compass thing and what you said just now. There are certain lines that even Xia Xue won't cross.
Yeah.
Which apparently in this case, Sylvia already did.
Yeah.
She not even crossed it, she ran past it a mile already.
Yeah.
Right. If, again, those alleged rumors are true. Okay, so a few other things that are kind of bothered me, obviously, right? Okay, so I don't even want to talk about anything that happened before last night, because everything that happened before last night is, as I said,
It's irrelevant already.
Yeah.
at most workplace misconduct.
It's outdated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The next thing that we want to touch about, which honestly I'm not so familiar with, I think maybe Basil can contribute a bit more, is the embezzlement and the immigration fraud thing. When you first read it, what are your thoughts, Basil?
She's going to jail.
You think so? I mean, that's if they can prove it, which I guess they sort of did.
I guess if you can prove the financial statements, and you can prove that she promised to pay back the company, etc., and then you can basically prove that she embezzled the money, lah. Yeah, because there's a lot of ding dong. There's a lot of ding dong regarding the rentals and how the money is spent and all that, right?
Yeah.
Which I think some of it has already gone online.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say this: if they can get Kong Hee, they can get Sylvia.
That's true, lah.
Yeah.
That's true,
Yeah.
Because I think all they need is just for someone to make a police report, and they will start an official investigation, legally forcing NOC to turn over all their accounting documents.
Yeah.
And she's fucked
the
already.
question now I have in my head is whether NOC as a company has other shareholders aside from Ryan and Sylvia. Because if they have other shareholders, aka for example an investor or a financial controller, which like a CFO or something, right? Questions have to be asked by these people, lah. And if the money is really being taken out of the company to fund her own personal ventures and stuff, right? Then your accountant is in deep shit also.
Yeah.
That might be also the reason why nobody.
I think the accountant will be implicated also.
Yeah, that's why I guess that's the reason why probably up until now nobody dared to leak anything or even review anything out there, because it's implicating a lot of people.
Well, I don't know. To be
Like,
honest.
do you ever think about the fact that Ryan and Sylvia, although they are company shareholders, they were also partners, in a relationship.
Yeah.
lah. So does it go to a family court kind of situation where I'm just using the company money because that was in the past? Then how do they split it?
I think that cannot be the case, because
very
as
grey.
a private limited company, right, you have to pay yourself a salary. So when you pay yourself a salary, then that's it, that's your money. But you cannot take the money from the company and then
so if
use it
you were to
do
borrow
your
any
own
money,
stuff.
then
you have to write a IOU or some shit.
lah,
Yeah.
okay.
Apparently they did, and her IOU is amounting up to about 79k.
Yeah. But the IOU has to state when she has to pay back the money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what?
Because
The
you have to be
IOU doesn't
accountable
have.
to your.
There was also a separate text screenshot that she was telling don't know accountant or lawyer to falsify that she's already paid back.
Oh
To-
yeah.
At least
yeah,
to Ryan.
that's criminal.
So you see the accountant is going to be implicated already.
yeah.
Right now, whoever's doing the accounts.
I mean, even just now we were saying, right, like most of the leaks right now, in fact, 90% of the leaks, right, are apparent WhatsApp screenshots. Then I was also sharing with SK just now off camera that screenshots can be faked.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say today I change Shanna's name in my phone book from Shanna to Sylvia, and I change her photo to her photo, and I get her to text me some very lewd stuff, and I screenshot. I can just say that, hey, apparently Sylvia said all this, but one thing they cannot change is the WhatsApp timestamp. Because this thing is blowing up this year, but apparently some of the timestamps are backdated to even 2017 and 2018. So I feel that just based on that alone, it could be real, but again, we don't know. There's no 100% until somebody has made an official police report and the authorities step in and conduct an actual investigation. There's also if she didn't try to destroy evidence,
But
which
the
still can
only
be
other
found,
way
lah.
that the police would investigate without a police report is if something becomes too big of public interest and it's really obviously something wrong somewhere. Then they will start an official inquiry into it.
In this case, we don't know whether it's going to be this big.
I think it possibly has the potential of being so, because
The
'Cause
brother
the-
getting the PR might be one of the big thing.
Yeah.
the immigration fraud thing is
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
whoa.
Yeah, because the when the Dikosh matter first blew up, right, the police stepped in pretty quickly. Pretty quickly.
It's
But that's
pretty-
because pedophilia is quite a big no-no in Singapore.
Yeah.
lah.
Not just that, somebody actually called the police.
Yeah lah. Official police report was made.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes.
if no one actually do anything, they're just gonna keep quiet.
Yeah, and
You cannot say that also. You cannot say that.
I mean,
also.
they will be keeping an eye, but it's just that they will be.
and
they won't take any action.
Not immediate action.
Yeah.
maybe.
prostitution of somebody else is a big thing here also, so they would definitely think about looking into it via that direction.
A side digress, that is something that I learned. Do you know that prostitution is apparently legal in Singapore? Like, freelance prostitution of any Singapore woman is legal.
Yeah, as long as you're
Yeah,
legal
yeah,
age,
yeah.
correct.
No.
I mean,
I didn't.
all
I know,
this
I know.
while I knew that the Geylang area, the legal prostitutes are legal, right? But apparently I didn't know that as a Singaporean female, you are legally allowed to prostitute yourself.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Correct.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
But you
but,
cannot
but
be-
you cannot be a pimp to other people.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct,
You
correct.
cannot be taking earnings from other people.
Correct.
Yeah,
You cannot be living off the earnings of somebody who's working as a prostitute.
Oh, okay.
as a sex
As
worker.
as
lah.
a
Sex
as an
worker.
agent,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
sex worker, yeah.
But yeah, that's a short digress lah. Just a little fun tidbit for y'all since this is already such a juicy episode. Yeah, so
Yeah, so that's the thing that they would probably try to nail her with.
pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our first and last sex joke. But yeah, okay. So I mean, this is ultimately still a very, very serious topic and conversation that we definitely have to address. Okay, so I feel that we have spent enough time on NOC really lah. There's really nothing else that I can mention because we've already mentioned all the key talking points. Before we close off, right, I have one final question for all of you. We more or less dissected the entire NOC saga. I've even asked you guys on your experiences with toxic work cultures, right? What you have probably witnessed or even received yourselves. Now, my final question to you is, at any point, were you yourself once a toxic person? Are you guilty of being toxic yourself at any point in time in your career? If you don't feel comfortable answering, it's fine. Since I start the question, I'll go first and my answer is yes. At some point, I definitely was toxic to people that I was working with. I also dare say that none of my toxicity is to the point where it borders on the criminal. Yeah, so maybe one example would be, in the past, I used to have this assistant that shot with me. I paid her peanuts, but everything was agreed from the start because I told her that my shoots, I charge this much, so I'm giving you a certain percentage. I'm giving you 15%, but I don't take the rest of the 75%. That money, I'm still paying other people, like I'm paying a script writer, so I maybe only take home about 50% only. Right, so that's how I tried to justify how much I'm paying her, and she was okay with it. So she's never had a problem with me in terms of pay. Okay, but things only started to get ugly when I started to demand more time and commitment of her. Right, because ultimately in the end, I spoke to a few friends, those who are more senior in me than in terms of running their own business, not necessarily in the same industry. Is you can never expect your employee to care about your business as much as you do. So that was when I had my own toxic self-check. Is there anything you want to share? Have you ever been guilty of being toxic yourself, even to friends?
To be fair, I do. I have to admit I wasn't the best person to work with when I was in TA actually, if I have to be honest. Partially because I'm a very solo person. So suddenly I need to work with a lot of partners tends to have a lot of frictions, especially the fact that, at the time when we needed one another, I'm also one of those people who actually tend to lash out a little bit. So to be fair, that I'm also not exactly the nicest guy to work with. And, in terms of with clients, I'm also not exactly very kind either. I think there was one very interesting incident that happened when we were doing one of our client shoots, and this was legitimately me being mean when we were doing this particular shoot inside this restaurant, and I need to actually shoot. The place was borrowed, by the way. Yeah, the place was borrowed. So yeah, the place was borrowed. So I was there shooting, and then right then there, when the talents get ready, there was this particular old guy coming in, and I still remember what I said. It was in Mandarin. I just said, 闲杂人等请滚开. So
I don't
basically,
know what that means.
so basically, outsiders,
Explain, please.
outsiders, please get the hell out. Something like that.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah, and the client was right beside me, and it turns out that particular old fella happened to be the employee of the restaurant. And yeah,
I see.
so I lash out even to those people. It's only until I start learning how to when I start teaching leadership and I start learning all these things, and even during my honors degree, that I realized that some of these things that I did was so embarrassingly wrong that I started to doubt that. Like, there were even times when I was even doing freelance in my early days. I have an assistant, but my assistant probably will hate me or love me a lot because I don't let them do anything. I'm not kidding.
Understand.
Yeah. So this is at the same now I know how to dedicate things. At the same time, some of them be like, I'll ask them like, do you need any help, all this thing, and I'm willing to do so, partly because of that. And again, it's only probably the last 3-4 years that I started learning how to adjust to that. So I don't know along the way how many toxicity I have been spreading.
So how do you think you can refrain yourself from making the same mistake again?
I'm very cautious now that I know what are the things that are right or what are the things that are wrong. I tend to be very conscious about my actions. Like, sometimes I'll just ask, or sometimes a very simple example is just recent, few days ago. There's a certain work that I have. My assistant actually were late, and technically speaking, I was actually quite angry at the time, knowing that I didn't want to lash out, but the poor girl actually not only was late, but she had a lot of technical issues. At that point of time, I tried to keep things calm, and I tried to run the lesson as per normal. And after this, immediately they need to comment on something. Like, basically I need to comment because she's first day, so I need to give comments. And noticeably that, at that point of time, my first reaction is, of course, my old me will start to lash out. Like, you didn't do this correctly, you didn't do this correctly, you didn't do this correctly. But on the other hand, I held back and say, it's her first day. And she's already extremely disoriented enough that she was late. But knowing that prior to that, during the briefing, she has asked a lot of questions to get herself prepared, and she's willing to go that far, all these things are unexpected. So I just turn around and give a lot of comments about her, like, you're actually, even though I know that you're disoriented, but you're still very composed, you didn't feel like you're disoriented, that's awesome. I think you should keep up the good work, and you're willing to go all the way to help out, so that's very nice of you. And then I even gave a pointer because her wall was the reason why her green screen wasn't captured. So I just gave her a very good simple tip: even out the lights of your wall, and maybe your computer will be able to read the wall color. You have a very good wall color, you should actually make full use of it. So I would now sort of be very conscious about that, and in fact, if I feel like I'm getting angry over this, right, I'll now finally take a step back and I'll say, okay, I'll just calm down first before I actually speak anything.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. What about you two? Is there anything you want to share? None? Okay. Then I guess that marks the end of this very long and tiring episode. It wasn't as fun, but it is like exactly 1.5 hours right now.
Wow.
My estimation quite 准.
Yeah.
Even after cutting, it's going to be more or less there. So yeah, we thank you very much for listening all the way through. If you are here all the way to the end, being toxic in the workforce is definitely not someone chooses to be. I believe even Sylvia, it's not someone chooses to actively like, hey, I want to be toxic in the workforce, but it's something that happens over time when you are faced with certain conditions that will be different, that will differ for everyone lah, right? So I guess the message here today is be aware of what kind of person you are, not only in the workplace but in the social setting, right? It's a constant reminder to all of us, because the greatest asset for anybody, even in the company, is the people around you. And if you don't constantly check yourself, and if you don't have friends who are good enough to give you a self-check session, you need to find new friends, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they say you are the average of your 5 closest friends, right? So
Yeah. We hope those of you who have listened to this take this lesson with you, or if you learn something else through our topics, that's great. Us doing this episode today, we are not instigating anyone to go and bash anyone. Okay, we are just purely bringing all the alleged topics that are already public online into our own light and sharing our opinions on them, and just sharing our experiences. It's really more of an experience sharing and how we can not get all this again for our final time, we thank you for listening to us. And if you want to access our other content, it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We also have visual reactions and other visual medias on our YouTube platform. We do not have a social media page right now, so if you want to leave us any comments or any topics to cover in the future, you can go to YouTube comments and just leave a comment there. Or even give a sub to us. We get very excited if we see things like that. So thank you so much. And with that, the entire Prod.cast and our guest star Shanna signing out. Bye.
Bye.